All right, let's get it going. All right, good evening, everyone. Today is May 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo, and I'm going to call this City Council meeting to order. Up first is going to be the invocation by Pastor David Butler with Faith Assembly Christian Church. Thank you, as always, for being here.
It's my honor, sir. Would you bow your heads? Heavenly Father, we thank you for our beautiful city. We thank you for our dedicated servants. Father, we just ask your blessings upon this meeting tonight. We thank you, Lord, for you being the Lord over our city, for watching over our tourists, for keeping our people safe. We thank you for our beautiful harbor and our beautiful Gulf. We just have so many blessings this evening, Lord. Most of all, we pray that everything we do and say would be pleasing to you, and that we work for the best interest of this city's citizens. We give you the praise for that. And now the blessing is this: may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he give you his peace. Amen.
Thank you for that. Councilwoman Aber with the pledge, please.
Please join me with your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And as we get going, if everyone could please silence their cell phones or put them on vibrate, please, so we don't have any interruptions, that would be great. And we will move right along, pledge. And now the agenda approval. Do we have any amendments or anything to add or change from our current agenda? All right, seeing none,
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, Councilwoman Aber with the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, by Councilman Guile. Seeing no discussions, we will call the vote for the approval of the agenda. All right, it passes 6-0. All right, public proclamation, or presentation. Captain.
Jason Folger, Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. I appreciate y'all allowing me to come up and speak to y'all about our spring break activities this evening. Hope everybody's having a good evening. So spring break this year went very well as compared to what we've had in some of the years past. It was 54 days long, and we utilized 5 deputies each day to enforce activities on the beach and some of the communities that are around the beach that are more affected by the spring break activity. In those 54 days, we ended up answering 1,180 calls to service and made 664 arrests. That's only 6 fewer arrests than what we had last year, but it seemed to us, just like it seemed to a lot of other people that I've had make comments, that the crowd seemed to be a little more calm this year than they were in past years. And it just seemed, overall, it seemed to be a nicer group this year than what we've dealt with in the past. A couple of them were repeat offenders and ended up going to the county jail because they didn't learn from the notice to appear that they were given. Most of those arrests were for possession of alcohol underage. There were a few for drugs, 5, and then there was 1 DUI in that arrest group as well. Unlike years past, we had some personnel issues this year, and we did have to use 1 City of Destin contract person for 11 of those days, which was the City of Destin Marine Unit. The water is typically slower during spring break than what we have in other times of the year, so we pulled him and used some of the county guys to cover the harbor and Joe's Bayou area while he was doing it. So out of those 664 arrests, 89% of them, 593, happened in the city limits of Destin. The biggest concern that we had during that time period is that group, the fraternity out of Atlanta that causes all the problems in Panama City Beach, did advertise on their social media page that they were coming here, which obviously created as much concern for us as it did for everybody else. We partnered up with y'all, Dr. Young in particular, and myself put out a message on their social media page saying that Destin was a family-friendly beach, that we worked diligently to keep it that way, and that while everyone was welcome, we were not going to tolerate, nor were our businesses going to tolerate, or the city going to tolerate illegal behavior. Y'all can imagine the kind of responses that we got back on social media from that, but that's okay. They were forewarned. After that, we partnered up with the business owners in the community and in the community itself to keep tabs on them. When we would find out where they were going, we would make pre-notice with the bar owners or the people around the beach and let them know, hey, whatever y'all need us to do, here's how to contact us. And we'd make sure that there was additional patrol units in that area during those times being visible. As a result of it, fortunately, knock on wood, we didn't have any incidences with that group. They were here for about 4 days, but we did not have any incidents, not near the problem that they had caused over in Panama City. That's all I have for y'all tonight. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than welcome to answer them.
Yep. Councilwoman Bear.
Thanks, Mayor. I know you and I had discussed during that time frame what the actions were that y'all were going to take, and I wanted to let you know that I heard from a lot of people that they were thrilled to see that we didn't have anywhere what we anticipated, and I know that Dr. Young worked really hard on our social media and took a lot of flack from those that did not appreciate us being honest with them. So thank you for taking pie in the face many days of their trying to come visit us, but more importantly, thank you for your team. You did a great job. We're happy to keep Destin like it is, and we don't need their interactions. So
thank you, ma'am. Yeah, fortunately, we had the benefit of developing after Panama City developed, and everyone in our community, law enforcement, business owners, cities, everyone looked towards Panama City and said, we don't want that. And everybody has made a partnership and a concerted effort to keep that kind of activity away from Destin, and it really helps us a lot to have that kind of partnership.
Well, it was obvious this year that y'all were very, very diligent. So thank you, and thank your team. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilman Schmidt.
Thank you. Thanks, Captain Fulgham, for being here. Does the Oklahoma County Board of County Commissions, do they fund all those extra people during those times?
The TDD pays all the overtime expenses, and in the past, the sheriff's office has paid all the on-duty expenses. Like I was saying, this year, we did have to use one of the City of Destin employees for the regular hours. Any overtime that he incurred would have been paid for by the TDD.
And then the Marine unit. I've heard in the past City of Destin doesn't really have much jurisdiction on the waters. So how do we utilize the Marine unit?
Y'all have got the harbor, y'all have got Joe's Bayou, and then a couple other smaller bayous.
When you say y'all got,
the
you mean
city.
the City of Destin.
Yeah, it's inside the city of
has
limits.
jurisdiction
on the water in the harbor, in Joe's Bayou, and several of the other smaller bayous. And the Marine unit patrols that area just like the other guys do in the rest of the county, targeting BUIs, targeting wake zone violations, any type of navigation law violations, as well as working with the Coast Guard and the city code enforcement to look at illegal charters.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, that's all I got on the board. Appreciate it.
Thank you all very much again.
Thank you.
All right, public comments. If anyone here wishes to speak, this is your time to do so. The only thing on the agenda that I would like for everyone to hold off on is 5A, public hearings. We will have a separate time for that specific item. So anything outside of that, this is your time to speak on the dais. Does anyone here wish for public comments? Yes, sir. All I need is your name and address, and then push the gray button down. It'll turn red. You don't have to hold it. There you go.
Yes, sir. Hi there. My name is Stan Croder, Kroder. I live in Santa Rosa Beach at 104 Hatton Court. I'm here on behalf of the Emerald Coast Fitness Foundation. You guys may be familiar with the ECFF. We've had talks in the past about pickleball. I'm not here to talk about pickleball. I just want to let you guys know, this is just kind of a public service announcement for y'all, is that we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary of providing the city of Destin with an aquatic facility, which is right next to the high school, and we're excited about that. In celebration of the 10-year anniversary, we are having a big event on May 17th. We're calling it Splash of Gold. We have invited down from Indiana gold medal swimmer Cody Miller, who has never been to this part of the country. Cody is has a huge presence on YouTube. He's got over nearly 200,000 followers. He's never been to Destin. We're excited about him coming here. We're gonna have swim clinics. We're also gonna have a time for family swim. We're also going to have a cocktail hour at which we're gonna have an auction. We've got a number of items. I wanna say thank you to the mayor personally for buying a ticket, we're grateful for that, and we look forward to entertaining you that night. And finally, I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the Emerald Coast Fitness Foundation for the support that the City of Destin has given the foundation in the past. As you know, we are the only public operated aquatic facility in the City of Destin, and your support, your continued support, is critical to allow us to continue to do what we do as a nonprofit. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for being here. All right, anyone else? Public comments or shameless plugs? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comments. Dr. T, could you help me with the, yep, thank you so much. All right, consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Have a motion, do I hear a second? Second. And any discussions? Seeing none, Ray, sir, if you please call the vote. Unlock the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved, 6-0. Moving along, City Manager, Mr. Bossman Jones Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 4A is a lien reduction request for a property at 455 Woodwind Drive. And you have a history of that property in your packet. On June 19th of 2018, the special magistrate found the subject property in violation of the applicable city codes for failure to register as a short-term rental. The property owner was given until July 20th of 2018 to come into compliance. That did not happen, and therefore the magistrate imposed a fine of $200 a day and a lien to follow. The city's position up until the end of last week was that the property remained out of compliance and that the $250 a day fine was still accruing. But after publishing your agenda, the requester did come and pay the short-term rental fees from 2018 through 2025 for the tune of about $6,000. The current lien amount is $618,500, and you certainly have at your discretion the ability to amend that amount. So if you so choose to, there is a formula in your code that says what you can reduce it by, and a lien of more than 5 but up to 10 years can be reduced no more than 5% of the loan amount. So I believe the requester are here and would like to address the council with
Please come up.
maybe some more information and more of their request.
All right, same thing, just gray button. Yep, and then name and address, please.
Good evening, Mike Coe, 8185 Gulf Boulevard, Navarre, Florida. My wife and myself had purchased the property in 2017, and I want to thank you for your time to address the Destin City Council. Our confusion, I guess, is the fact that we realistically got notice when we had the property listed for sale, and it's scheduled to actually be sold in 5 days, pending the outcome of this result. I guess there was a long history that they got emailed to us about what occurred throughout the property. The first notice of this, really for us, that we can recall is actually March 26th of this year, when the title company found this lien presented to us. Now, obviously, as people that everyone around here is obviously familiar with short-term rentals, we were unaware of this fine accruing, and we were unaware of this. The property question has stopped being a short-term rental as of November of 2018. The signage was still left on the property. The reason behind that is there were other multiple properties being done in renovation at the time, and there were a lot of other psychosocial issues, and we had family living there and staying there. So, I think that for us to be reasonable, we had noticed that this was fine as accruing in some aspect, we definitely would have taken care of it. I don't think anyone who would clearly say that a fine of $250 a day of not taking care of something that's relatively inexpensive to do, in consideration that this property has not functioned as a short-term rental, other than I think November of 2018 was the last time it actually functioned as a short-term rental. So once we got notice of this in March 26th of this year, that's when we proceeded to come and figure out a course of action for us to take, and that's why I'm here today. What I'm saying is, in the sense of reasonableness, I understand the fine is very significant, $610,000 for a fine that's been accruing, I believe, since July 21st of 2018, is something that any normal person would have taken care of. And that's why I'm here saying that The situation is the property was acquired in 2017 and functioned from 2017 and 2018 as a short-term rental, ending in November of 2018. And so for us, the questions that I had for Mr. Morales specifically was, well, if we no longer function as short-term rental, then do we have to notify somebody of that? And I guess something got lost in the communication. That's the best I can recall of the specifics of it. Like I said, I think any normal person who really, truly got notice of this, of a fine accruing of $250 per day, would take care of it when it's a relatively simple thing to do. And that's why I'm here in front of the Destin City Council to say, you know, these this is the information that I have in front of me, and this is to the best of our recollection, dating back to 2018, moving forward. And that's why I'm here to answer any questions about the specifics. I mean, to me, a fine of $610,000 for a property that we have under contract to sell for $640,000 is quite significant.
All right, well, I appreciate you being here. Up first, I have Councilman Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, part of me says, I'm sorry, but the documents we have show that it was delivered to your house. Y'all accepted it in Navarre, okay, the lien notice. So I don't know if you don't have those documents or access to those documents, but we can get you access to those documents because I agree. It shouldn't have been that hard to take care of, but you didn't take care of it. The other thing I would say is, you know, you listed it last March, right, for sale?
Yes.
For like 825,000
Yes.
starting off, okay? So now we're down to 640. Do you remember the occupancy status that you and your realtor listed it under?
I don't recall.
Vacation rental,
Okay.
okay? So that was in 2024,
Correct.
March of 2024. So, you know, we have to balance that with, yes, we want the house to get sold and get fixed up and get repaired or whatever it needs to be done and become a you know, it's not an eyesore, but it just needs to be, you know, taken care of, a little
Sure.
TLC. So do you have a mortgage or anything on that?
No, we do not have a mortgage on the property.
Okay. So at 640, you know, the staff's recommendation is to reduce it according to our rules by 5%. I'm willing to split the difference and just everybody move on. You know, 320 and 320 and just call it a day because, you know, I agree with you because we're going to, when we take you to court or when we go to sell it on the courthouse steps, we're going to incur costs. You're going to incur costs. You probably won't get anything because our lien pretty much eats up the 640.
Correct.
Right there. So I'm just trying to find something. So I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, in place of the recommended motion that we reduce the lien to $320,000 and they've already paid all the things and that be paid within the next 90 days.
I second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I got anything else further, Councilman Bagley? All right, Councilman Guile, discussion?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple questions. I heard Mr. Bagby saying that his offer is to split 50-50, but, and on your request, I see that you're asking for reduction, but I don't see the number you were asking to be reduced to.
I did not have a number in mind because I understand that there was information that we received notice, I guess, on March 13th, 2018 at 1:16 p.m. that it was left and signed by somebody, but I don't have any documentation of who would have signed it at that time. At that time, I know myself, I was working as a physician in Mississippi, so there's no way I would be there on a Friday, April 13th of 2018 at 1:16. And I'm sure my spouse would be out working on the different renovation projects. So that's the first question we have is I know that based upon this, the first notice that it was left with somebody is April 13th, 2018. And again, I just didn't see anywhere in any of the documentations that they had that. Because obviously, like I said, from 2018 forward, it'd be very easy to take care of this. This is not a significant amount of money, and it's not a hard process to do. So I don't have a specific amount for the reduction, because I was told to just present the facts and then leave it up to yourself. And then subsequently, Ms. Kimberly Kopp, I think, sent us the administrative stuff saying that there was 5% or whatever reduction. That's why I'm coming here in front of the Destin City Council to say these are the facts.
I was going to ask, did the council members receive the zero income? It has not been a short-term rental. I've sent evidence from Airbnb to show you my earnings have been zero. We went through a long divorce, et cetera.
Because you had mentioned that the house was rented as a vacation
It has
rental.
not been rented at all. And also, the realtor did reach out to you to let you know it has not been rented.
You're saying that, but again, on March 2024, your realtor listed it as a vacation rental.
Right,
as
but he's
identified
also
by-
sent you an email stating like that Asher has not let this house out at all. I'm not sure why he listed it that way.
I mean, that's something that the realtor discussed. Has it been a occupied property as a homeowner occupant or a vacation rental? That's a simple.
It had no air conditioning and
Yeah.
no gas at the time.
Okay, can I ask Steve a question? Steve, we're going through all this documentation. I see where several notifications have been made and identified. He's claiming they haven't received any of these notifications. They haven't, nobody was there to sign for it. But can you verify that
Sir,
what
it
we're
does
saying here
state
is
that
truthful?
an
That,
individual-
excuse me, ma'am, I'm having a conversation with it.
Yeah, that's the documentation that we have that, because we have to send everything certified. So it tracks all the action of that mail, of that specific mail. So this is what we received from the Postal Service confirming delivery and their notes.
So the United States Postal Service is the one that's declared that
Yes,
somebody
sir.
at that residence
Yep.
signed and received the package. Okay. Again, our code states 5% reduction. I think Councilman Bagby is being unbelievably generous with the offer that he's made now.
Sure.
And I'm going to give other council members a chance to ask questions so that they can come to their conclusion.
And then before I move on, just while you're here, can I get your name on the record as well?
Yes.
Just put it up here for me.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I'm the
Stand in
co-owner.
front of it.
Yeah, sorry.
Hi, I'm the co-owner. I'm Asher Kayla.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Councilwoman Aber,
I was just going to,
you can sit down if you want. I just got a general.
I was
record.
going to ask you your closing costs and your walk away from this. Say if you didn't have this lien holding over you, what's your closing in 5 days? What is the closing cost?
I don't have a rough estimate of what the,
So are you going to, is it a $700,000 sell and you're going to have, if you didn't have this lien on it, you're going to walk away with $700,000 because you don't have a mortgage?
No, ma'am.
You have to be on the mic. We can't hear you and it won't
I'm very
publicize.
sorry. I'm shy.
That's okay.
It's, I think 30% closing cost and, something like that. It's not great.
Yeah.
And it's going for what, I believe we actually settled at 625.
I'm not familiar with the specifics of it. So roughly closing costs are what, 6 to 10% or something
I
like
also
that?
have I think I gave them a roof allowance.
So you're just trying to get out of it and be done with it?
Well, I mean, I'd like to get some of my money back. I did buy the home.
Right. Well, and I agree with Mr. Bagby. I'm okay with the 50-50 split. You know, the fees were curing. We have proof that somebody signed for it, and that's something you should be aware of when you have property. It's hard to believe that there was nothing.
I had no idea. If I had known there was a hearing, ma'am, I assure you I would have attended.
Well, I'll stay with my motion on Mr. Bagby's for 50-50.
All right, Councilman Destin?
Thank you, Mayor. We've got verification that someone signed for the documents?
Yes, it's in the packet underneath the
Okay.
notice of hearing.
Was it either one of these individuals that signed?
No, it doesn't specifically indicate who. It just says, your item was delivered to an individual at the address at 1:36 PM on May 21st, 2028 in Navarre. And then the next one was, I think there were 2 notifications of delivery. could be wrong.
And additionally, it was posted on the actual house in Destin as
Correct.
well.
Yeah.
It posted where? I'm sorry.
On the door of the house in Destin as well.
Did you
So-
guys live in the house?
No, sir.
You know, I've been through several instances where I got registered letters that nobody signed for. They were stuck on the door, fell off the door. You know, it's pretty much a joke unless they signed for it. The ones I signed for, I got those. If they didn't sign for it, in my opinion, they didn't get it. And I'm pretty appalled by the draconian nature of what we're doing with these people who are foolish enough to own property in Destin. $600,000 for their transgression of not having a license to do short-term rentals, which they've testified today they never did since November the 18th. Meanwhile, folks who don't own property in Destin get to say that to us. You know, we've got people venting on the beach every day. They were out there yesterday who are getting a $500 fine. 500 versus 600,000 to me has a lot of, you know, a lot of equity problems. And we've got another one after this one. I say, they paid the $6,000 for the licenses for something that they say they were not doing. You know, I appreciate Mr. Bagby's willing to cut it in half, but so now they're paying $300,000 for doing what they say they didn't do. In addition to the fact that we have no proof they ever actually received a notice at all. Something about this just, you know, strikes me as draconian and wrong. I'll make a substitute motion that we set their fine at $100,000.
Second.
Motion, I got a second by Councilman Schmidt. Anything further, Councilman Destin? Nope. All right, Councilman Schmidt, you're up.
What'd you guys do with the property after you stopped doing short-term rental for the past 5 years, 6 years?
It got flooded. The air conditioning, my niece visited, she left the air conditioning on.
In 2018?
Yes, sir.
So what's been happening for the past 5 or 6
Well,
years?
I gutted it in 2019. I put new floors in, and I was ready to set it up as a rental again. And then COVID hit, and then we got divorced, and neither of us could use the marital property.
So has it probably been vacant for 5 or 6 years?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. And what's our process for sending notices? Is it certified mail?
Yeah, all official notices are certified mail.
And doesn't certified mail require signatures? And then we get back in the mail the signature copy when you send something certified?
Yeah, usually yes.
Right,
Yeah.
and we don't have that.
From 2018,
Right, I know.
probably not.
Okay. And if they were cited for doing short-term rentals in 2018,
Correct,
and they didn't register,
correct,
but then they stopped doing it.
correct. Well, that's,
So
yeah.
That's
in
their claim.
theory,
That's not
I guess the catch-22 here is we find them something every single day for years, and they were never even registered, they were never doing it. So it almost seems like it's like, why did we keep finding them? Why did we keep doing this if they were not even actively doing?
So the way the
What's
process
there?
works under the statute is, I'm going to go really quick to answer your question, but there's a hearing to find them in violation, and at that hearing, no fines are imposed, but the special magistrate says, hey, you have this amount of time to come into compliance, usually 30 days. If they would have registered within those 30 days, everything would have been over with no fines. But because they didn't come into compliance within those 30 days, there was a second hearing and a second set of notices sent out and put on the door, and there was a second hearing. At that hearing, the special magistrate said, you didn't comply within the 30 days, I'm imposing a lien. It's going to be $250 a day until you register as a short-term rental. They then never registered, never contacted the city and said, we're not a short-term rental, and they've told you the reasons why. They're saying they didn't get the notices, but I'm just explaining why it happened. So that means that the fine automatically accrues every day until they come into compliance.
Did you guys go to those magistrate hearings?
I didn't even know they happened.
Okay, so you weren't there.
Can I just speak briefly about certified? I don't know how familiar. A certified letter means you just go pay the post office to certify. There is no signature required. You require the return receipt, which is an additional fee that gets you a signature, and then you get the return receipt, whatever entity sent it, showing a signature of the person who signed it.
Got it.
And today, we do the signature cards, but I do not know if staff did them back in 2018.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you so much.
All right, Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. It was certified that it was delivered to the address in Navarre, not the short-term rental house on Woodwind.
Correct, yeah,
Correct.
official warnings go to the property owners.
Yes.
And per the registered address, per the Okaloosa
Okay.
County Property Appraiser's Office.
May I point out, we also have 3 sons. I mean, any of them could have signed. I'm sorry. Okay.
Said they have 3 sons, and any of the 3 sons could have signed,
My
right?
teenager could have signed, and I never would have seen it.
Councilman Destin, final shot?
Just a question for the attorney. So ceasing the illegal activity is not a cure?
It is a cure. It is a cure.
But only if you put the city on notice.
Right.
So-
Right.
so if
And then the code enforcement officer would verify the compliance, make sure there was no ads, and then if he confirmed, then there would be an affidavit of compliance put in the file, and the lien would stop accruing at that time.
So if I was speeding down Airport Boulevard and stopped, 6 years from now, I can still get a ticket?
No.
I know that's not apples to apples, just a common sense application. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Guile, last bite.
Yeah, I'm trying to contain myself here a little bit, but it's a little frustrating that we're claiming that our code enforcement failed to do their job properly, and that potentially they never received a notice that went to their primary residence, whether their child accepted it or not. It was still accepted at their primary residence. And just because I say I didn't throw that pin doesn't mean I didn't throw that pin, especially when I have a motive of $300,000 to say I didn't throw that pin. I think we need to be realistic in this.
All right, with nothing else, I have a substitute motion on the floor. Does everyone understand what we're voting on? All right, seeing that, I'll call the vote for the substitute motion. Do you have that, Ray?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Destin, does your motion include to be paid within 90 days?
Okay.
He said 90 days in the recommendation, just in case the closing got extended or didn't happen, but yeah.
Oh, man, okay. All right. So my logic today talking to council was, and I get where everyone's coming from. I believe our code, and I believe that, there is procedures. If I don't file my taxes, the federal government does not have this kind of authority that we have as a city, which I do appreciate. If you guys are telling me the whole entire truth, from July to November is about 100 days. And if we were to do that, we're at 20,000. I think holding this out and extending it is merit to the 5 multiplier. So with that, I think the 100 is more than reasonable, and I really appreciate you guys being here. So thank you guys so much.
So, the motion passed, so you're at the $100,000. So now, if you can reach out tomorrow, staff will give you the instructions on how to pay it, and then if your title agency needs a satisfaction of lien before closing, we can do that after it's paid. So we'll figure that out.
Can I please request you don't send it via certified mail?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you guys.
Turn that off, sir.
Thank
All right, Larry?
Thank you. Lien reduction 2.0 is for B is a property at 30 Marina Point Road. On March 26th, the special magistrate for code compliance found this property in violation of applicable city codes as an unsafe building that was constructed without permits. The property owner was given until May 3rd of 2019 to come to compliance, and it was not brought into compliance by that date, and the special magistrate imposed a lien fine of $250 per day. On February 5th, 2021, the property was brought into compliance, and therefore the fine stopped accruing at that time, and that amount was at $161,000. You've heard the discussion about what you're allowed by code or permitted by code to reduce fine. In this instance, it is because it's between 1 and 2 years, 25% is the appropriate reduction per code, but certainly you have latitude to do as you wish. And I believe the requester and their attorney is here to present their case.
All right, yes, please join. All right, and then before we start, if you both can state your names and address. Oh, yep, just push it down. Yep, there you go.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brian Kiefer. I'm a local real estate attorney. My office is at 6925 US Highway 98 in Santa Rosa Beach. I'm here with my client, Lennis Durowan, who is the property owner, 30 Merino Point Road, Unit 302A, Destin, Florida. It's a condo on Holiday Isle.
Your name, sir,
Lynn Darrowin.
and address.
Primary address is 4015 Brandon James Drive, Biloxi, Mississippi, 39532. Condo address is 30 Merino Point Road, Unit 302A, Destin.
Thank you, sir. All right.
All right. Thank you for this opportunity to be heard. I'll try to be brief and to the point. This case is a little unique compared to most code enforcement lien appeals, I suppose, that you hear. Mr. Durowan bought this property in foreclosure back in 2020. The code enforcement lien went into effect on May 3rd of 2019, some 6 years ago. I will say for the record, so Mr. Durowan, he had no actual knowledge of the code enforcement lien. Bought the property for his own personal use for him and his wife Trish, who's here with him. And now, to the similar story, putting the property up for sale, and the title search revealed this code enforcement lien. I will say that I need to accept some responsibility for being here today. A year ago, Len asked me about the lien, if I thought it was still valid, and I incorrectly told him no, that I thought that it was closed and resolved, and I based that on the Compass website, which indicated it was closed and resolved in 2021. However, I know that was wrong, and that was my fault, and so we're here to try to make this right. The basis of the code violation, I believe, started with this condo smelled. There was sort of a sewage smell coming from it. So I believe the Owners Association contacted the City Council, sent somebody out there who confirmed those conditions exist. And according to the lien, basically dated June 16th, it said that the $250 a day started on May 3rd, and then it also went on to say that, that the conditions of the structure, imminent of fire, failure, collapse, that the building official is authorized, that if it's not fixed within 20 days, that they should go out there and rectify it. To my knowledge, that was not done. I almost wish it had, because then it would have been resolved and we'd have a date certain. Len can tell you that when he took possession of the property in July, he observed no code enforcement violations. The plumbing was working, the toilets were working. He turned the electricity on the very next day without any issue. I believe that the violations were corrected by Mr. Parkhurst. So kind of what makes this a little different, that the lien is against the former owner, Donald Parkhurst, who is actually now deceased. He passed last year. When Len took possession, did an inspection, didn't see any violation. He even pulled permits to do a remodel immediately, and nothing came up at that time. So now here we are, a couple years later, he's trying to sell the property, and we have this issue. The city's position is that the violation was in existence for 659 days. I believe that that is not just excessive, but incorrect. I'm requesting that the council consider that 20 days after June 16th, as the deadline for Mr. Parkhurst to correct it, which I believe he did, would take it to July 5th, or in other words, 64 days of code violation. We respectfully request that the council basically issue a fine of 64 days, not 600 plus, but 64 days at $250 a day. That would still result in Mr. Durowan paying a fine of $16,000. It's still a lot of money to him, but under the overall circumstances, we believe it's fair to both Mr. Durowan and to the city. We welcome your questions or comments.
All right, thank you for being here. Up first, Councilman Gao.
So when you purchased the property, your title company didn't do a title search for liens?
It's foreclosure. Bought it through the county.
Okay, but you
Foreclosure.
didn't, so you didn't hire a title company to do a?
I did not. No, this is my fifth property I bought in foreclosure, and I've had zero problems with the other four, and I'm here in the area. And this shocked me. The city of Lien really shocked me. I had no idea.
I can confirm he did not do a title search. In fact, it was an HOA lien foreclosure. When he bought the property, there was then a second foreclosure case from the mortgage holder that he had to deal with. So that's hindsight at this point, and we accept responsibility. But no, he bought this property with knowledge of none of those events.
Okay, but it was active when you purchased it. You just didn't do your due diligence and research.
Yeah, I did not do a title search, and I had no idea.
Okay,
Correct.
so that means when you purchased the property, you also assumed whatever liens were attached to the property legally, correct?
Taking title of the property, it is his responsibility, sure. And in hindsight, we wish we had done a title search. Probably might not have even bought the property if he had known. But again, we accept responsibility on this end.
Councilman Schmidt.
Can staff talk about the Compass issue, filing for permits and not being notified of ongoing liens, these comments that were just made?
What specifically do you want?
Well, if they came to get permits for construction, should we have known like that there's liens on the properties? Are we required to notify them of that at that time, or is that separate office? I mean, I know it's separate.
I don't know how Compass would have been set up to identify that specifically.
As far as I know, the only way that people are notified of liens is if they either do a title search or if they come to the city and ask before they buy the property, are there any open code enforcement cases or liens or open permits? That's what people typically do. In a foreclosure, not so much. It is common that people don't do that step. But
And why did you say that you said that the website said there was no code violations? What do you mean by that?
I have printed out the webpage, basically. And again, not using this as an excuse, we accept responsibility.
No, the website,
but
system
the basis
sucks.
of my
It's
poor advice that I gave Mr. Duran was that when we looked it up, it said that the status was closed, resolved.
For that case?
This
violation?
is of May of 2021.
For that specific violation?
Yes, sir.
It says closed?
It says closed, resolved.
because at that time, the property was in compliance and the lien stopped accruing, so the case was closed. That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
Because the lien was paid in February of I'm not paid. The lien was stopped accruing in February of 2021.
And it stopped accruing based upon, how? How did that transpire? If you
I
didn't know.
obtained their permits and inspections, and when it passed inspection, the property was in compliance and the case was closed and the lien stopped accruing. It wasn't paid, but it stopped accruing. And if you want more specifics on the inspection, Noel's here.
So when you got the permits, and then they came to inspect after you did the work, you passed inspection, which is great that you did that. Thank you for actually getting permits and inspections. When they closed those permits, that took care of the lien. Is that kind of what you're just saying?
Yeah, the lien accrues when the property's in
Stops.
violation.
Right,
Once
right,
they
right,
comply,
okay.
it stops.
So that was a trigger to stop the liens accruing.
Correct.
That's some 600 odd days. I will say, just in totality of the facts, that when he pulled the permits and was approved, nothing was mentioned. The code enforcement wasn't called to his attention at that time. Had no actual knowledge.
Councilwoman Aber?
I'm just going to make a motion that, based on the facts and the fact this was not a short-term rental, that we charge you $25,000 and call it good.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Councilman Destin, any further discussions? What was the amount? 25.
25,000. So that would be 25% of the lien, right? Because it was 100,000 just about, and you're taking it down to 25.
Okay. All right, with that, I see no further discussions. Ray, open the vote. All right, ayes have it 4-2, so moved. That's a settlement.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
I have a question, Steve, for you. Not on this case, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
Thank you.
On future, what do we have to do? Blood samples, urine tests, when we deliver things? I mean, what's it going to take to appease people here, in your opinion?
To get certified mail or like noticed?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to accept that the United States Postal Service knows what they're doing. So what's it going to take, do you think, to appease people?
There's another thing under the state law that staff can do besides the certified mail. They can post the property in addition to it with signage. So that is one way to get attention. I mean, if you follow the code, you would have a property manager that would tell you that your property has a posting on it. But in addition to that, what Larry and I were talking about today was following up when there is a lien on the property within a certain amount of time. So maybe every 6 months or every year or something, informing people there's still a lien on this property. That's a small cost to the city, but a way that we can make sure people know what's going on if they claim they didn't get the notice.
And you're saying that notice goes in the paper, or it just goes, it's still delivered certified mail?
The notice goes by certified mail and additionally is posted on the property. They either leave a door hanger and/or they can put a sign in the yard.
Okay, but we just had a certified mail and a posting at their residence, and for some reason that wasn't good enough. So I'm trying to understand.
We didn't say it wasn't good enough. It was
No,
legally good
but
enough.
I mean, apparently this council doesn't feel it is.
So one
I'm trying to
additional
find-
step we're contemplating taking is on an annual or semi-annual basis, saying these properties have liens on them, have code liens. Let's let these folks know, hey, there's a code lien on your property. And hopefully.
That's exactly what we did in the past, though.
Well, but that was only a one-time deal, that your property has been liened and you're being fined $250 a day until you're satisfied. Last notification, and per statute, that's all we're required to do. So we're saying maybe there's a better mechanism that says, let's annually review what the code liens are in place and make sure we notify those folks that, hey, just a reminder, you've got a code lien. You might want to come satisfy it.
And
Okay,
if I may, tomorrow Code Compliance has a meeting with MGO concerning the code side of the MGO software that we're implementing soon. And I directed staff to create a lien tracker based on these two cases specifically. And we're also going to ask MGO to develop basically a notification to staff saying, hey, this is the compliance date, and then backdating compliance notifications to staff saying, hey, 5 days out, 2 days out, that sort of stuff. We're going to implement something like that with the lien tracker as well, either a quarterly reminder of staff to reach out. The problem is that we get into is we only have the property appraiser information to go off of and the mailing address. We generally don't have, unless they're maintaining their applications for short-term rentals or whatever, we don't have active email addresses for the property owner. We don't have phone numbers for the property owner. So we only have the actual address. So we can only really send out that mailer via certified mail. But if we do have a phone number, we do have an email address, we can always try and reach out that way. And we generally do.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Aber?
I was just going to say that, especially since these were both back before the pandemic, and in 2020, there could very well be a lot of properties that people, foreclosed on or sold. So, yeah, I think getting that information updated ASAP and getting anyone that's on that, list, we don't want to keep getting these people coming in here and they're blindsided because it's not a very clear system as far as if they've, foreclosed and gotten this property on sale or whatever. So anything we can do to prevent having this happen again to us, two properties back to back.
Can you explain to me how you don't think it's a clear system?
If they're getting something delivered to their house in Navarre and they're not home and somebody else accepts it, but there's no signature. In other words, there's nothing that physically says this person signed for it and there's their driver's license. Like FedEx, you have to show your driver's license when you're signing for something, and then they take a picture of it, so it's documented who signed for it, who got it. So unless
We don't do it the way we did in 2018 anymore. They now send the card, they attach the card to the certified mail, and we get back the signature card so we can see who signed it. Back in 2018, I don't think staff did that, but there have been improvements since then. It's these older liens before the changes were made.
And that's what I want us to get a track of. I want us to find out how many more are sitting out there that are going to come to us in the next year or two when somebody's selling their property or passes away and it's foreclosed, or, the bank takes it back because the family member's passed away and there's nobody to pass it on to. So, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, I'm more with Tori on this one. It's a clear system. You know, even if we don't have a signature card, we have the USPS. Yes, we delivered it to that address and somebody accepted it. It's not like we just threw it under their rug or whatever and said, well, we hope they find it, you know, when they replace that rug in 5 years. My concern is, and I know we fixed the system, I know we talked about going forward, how to address some things. We're going to see more of these probably in the next 2 years, just like we did in '08 and '09, where these people, particularly on the condos, are they won't get upside down necessarily, but all their equity will be gone. And so they'll be coming in here and I need to sell this condo and, you know, you guys, and at some point, we either need to change our rules or we just need to follow our rules. And I get it, $600,000, that's too big a lien. That's insane. But, you know, it's insane that you got to take responsibility for your properties. If you have 20 properties, you got to take responsibility for 20 properties. So I'm glad that we've got it cleared up, but we need, as a council, to say, you know, because every meeting, we're going to have people coming. Well, y'all put a lien on my property, and, you know, I applied for this will be the next one. I applied for the permit, so you should have stopped it right then. No, because that doesn't mean you corrected the problem. That just means you applied for the permit or you got the permit. So we have to have a standard, and I thought we had a standard, and I thought we were pretty clear in our standard, but obviously we've decided that's not our standard.
Councilman Destin?
How much does it cost to have someone serve like a lawsuit? Someone comes to your door and they find you, and they give it to you, put it in your hand. How much does it cost to do that? And is that an option if it's not terribly expensive?
The sheriff's office usually charges like $20. Or if you get a private process server, it can be closer to $100. I don't know if the sheriff's office would do code compliance service.
Well, if they didn't, $100 is not terribly expensive to get rid of these kind of problems.
I've never worked in our civil side, so I'm not sure, but I'll find out.
I mean, I know it's $20 for service because we just served on a code enforcement lien to 222 Cybert. And I had the sheriff's office go out there for $20. So I know they do that, but I don't know if they would do it at the magistrate level. Because when we did that one, it was through the courts, right? I don't know if they would do for special magistrate code compliance.
But a civil server would, I take it, as
They
long as
would.
you pay them.
Yeah, for about $90, $100.
I would suggest that will cure part of this problem. They can't say I didn't get it. And
I second that.
We should go forward to explore that possibility. Yeah, and the other comment I would make is I understand what Jim's saying, we had a standard, but we're sitting as a judge up here when we hear these, and every case is unique, and you can't, it's very hard to put a standard that this will always be the fine, because that takes away discretion and the fact that every case is unique, so. I don't see how you can just write a rule that says, we're only going to give them 5% under any circumstance, doesn't matter. Well, then we don't need to sit here.
All right. We got some marching orders out of that. Larry, take us away.
Next item is 4C is a resolution 2510 schedule of fees. Back in February, you approved a change to the building permit fees as well as the parks and recreational fees, and this action will just codify those into the 2010 fee schedule of fees.
All right.
I move to adopt resolution 2510, schedule of fees.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman. Any discussion? Oh, here we go. Okay. Councilman Bagby?
So,
sorry, Trammell.
No, that's okay.
I left your name out.
Y'all know what I'm going to ask you, so you can go ahead. I just want to make sure, here's my point for tonight, and it was part of my point on the waiving of the fees. Projections are for the next year or 2 years, we will probably be flat on our property valuations, which means our revenues will be flat, absent some gracious people at the state level or federal level or whatever, which I don't see that coming from the federal level, and probably not coming from the state level. In fact, the state level wants to take down property taxes. And in a city that is limited to 2 mills, that is our known source of income. You know, we can generate billions in sales tax, but we don't get to see that other than whatever percentage of the population we have of Okaloosa County. And so we have talked about, and I know this is just codifying, but I just want to make sure we're all cognizant, because we've all said, you know, we want to take care of the parks and, you know, kind of subsidize those with it, and I agree with that. But could y'all, either Crystal, one of you, I don't even see, oh, there's Crystal, tell us where we are on the cost of these facilities and versus the revenue that we think we will see on both the schedules? Lisa, Crystal, one of you. Go ahead.
I can, well, Lisa's group calculated it the first time, so I'll let them continue with all of their details to share with you.
Okay, Noel or Lisa, one of you two.
Guess I'm a little confused. What would you like to know?
If you're asking from the new fees to the previous fees.
Right.
If we used, from the Parks and Rec side, using last year's usage and applying these new fees.
We increasing revenue or decreasing revenue?
Would have generated about $30,000 additional dollars.
$30,000 additional dollars. And on the building, we're the same, right? Or more?
And the building, we're trying to balance the current building
Okay.
division's fund so we don't go in the red.
So in the typical community, what percentage is reclaimed in Parks and Recs fees?
25%.
25%. And we are at, this will put us at what?
20%, I believe.
20 or 12?
I think it's
Okay,
gonna
what
be
y'all told me
12,
3 hours
12 and a
ago.
I believe 20%.
Wow, it went from 12 to 20 in 3 hours. Okay, y'all can explain that tomorrow. But we need to, the point being, we're going to have to make some hard decisions in the next 6 months because our revenue from our tax base is probably not going to increase that much. So, and our expenses are going to go up. Our employees are going to expect raises. The price to fix things like the community center, you know, are not going down, or to make improvements at Joe's Bayou, or to do all these other things. So when your expenses are going up and your revenues are flat, something isn't getting supported. And that's kind of what we need to do. I mean, I'm going to support this, but I want to couch this as we're coming up on the budget. People need to be thinking, what is it? Where are we going to make those either increase charges or decrease services or decrease support in some other level? Thanks.
Councilman Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. Did I understand the numbers? We're at 20 and we need to be at 25?
No, well, we were at 12 at 1:30 this afternoon.
Yeah,
so
I think
don't
we're
know.
probably close to 12, 13.
Now we're
We'll
at
find out
20,
where that
so-
is.
Okay, so let's say a compromise, we're at 15. We are proposing to up the fees by an average of 34%, is that correct?
That's on the building fees.
Okay, what about the other ones, the recreation?
I don't know that we calculated the percentage. We utilized the fee basis from Fort Walton. Some of them were relatively flat and some of them were a little more.
So we do not have a handle on whether this is an increase, a decrease, or a level with these proposed fees?
The fees that are in this schedule are going, so the revenue that we brought in 2024, we used all of these fees to see what the revenue would have been, and it would have been 30,000 more.
Using these fees, not the fees that are presently in place.
Using those fees that you're looking at right now, that you guys adopted or that you approved, that you're looking at right now. We took those fees and put them to all the revenue that we brought in 2024, what those fees, what the revenue would have been if we would have used those fees.
So without 30,000 on a total budget of how much?
A total budget?
Recreational
How
budget?
much did we bring in 24?
I don't have that right here.
Okay, so let's just assume,
That was all brought, all that information was brought to you when we were going through all the fees and that fee schedule. Sorry, I did not bring that.
30,000 on the budget is very minimal.
Yes.
percentage-wise.
and that's the point I'm trying to get to. If it's a $300,000 budget, it's a 10% increase. If it's a $3 million budget, it's a 1% increase. What percent is it? Somewhere between 1 and 10%? I mean,
At best.
we're going forward without the numbers really to make a real good analysis on this. But at this point, I will not vehemently oppose 30,000 increase if that's what we're really doing. But we need to know, because increasing fees is not the only way to address shortfalls. It seems to be the only way that we do, but there are other methods, and we have to look at those other methods. If what Mr. Bagby predicts is going to come, and I believe it probably is, I don't think the legislature is going to take away our only source of revenue, property taxes. If they do, then God bless them. But property values probably are going to stagnate pretty badly, I would anticipate. So, folks, let's figure out other ways than just raising taxes every time or fees to address these shortfalls. We have to have a mix.
Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, we've beaten this fee stuff like a dead horse multiple times with staff. To their credit, these details and these questions and these exact things that you're talking about have been provided multiple times when we've discussed and voted on it. So I guess tonight they don't have it, but we've gone over this. We've labored on this specific thing for many, many nights in past meetings. So I'm not sure if you think we're missing something, but.
In that case, you remember what percentage that is.
Oh, I don't. I'm just saying, we've done this many,
Okay,
many
well, then,
hours.
this is a public hearing where the people listen, so they might need to know too. And I ask if you remember what percentage it is.
Well, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but
well,
I just don't like that we're like going after staff right now for something that we've gone over so many times. I feel like we're attacking them.
Asking a question that is pertinent to the decision is not going after the staff. And I do not criticize them, I just ask, what percentage is it? Not an unreasonable request nor criticism of the staff.
I just feel like they've done the job many times for us, so I don't.
No.
All right, Councilman Guile?
Crystal, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The $500,000 we just gave away, where would that have gone?
Into the general fund.
Into the general fund. So we're looking for ways to keep financing and other than raising taxes, but the out-of-state investors that take advantage of us, we just keep giving $500,000 bonuses. Thank you very much for your time, Crystal.
Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, I don't want you to think we're beating up on you, Lisa. I'm not beating up on you. The thing I'm highlighting is, yes, we've gone over this, and we've gone over it 3 or 4. I've probably gone over it 8 times with the staff. The problem is we're going to go over it again in the budget because you're right, we shouldn't raise fees every time, but that is one of the components. We can lower services, or we can lower, maintenance costs that we do on the fields, or whatever we decide to do. But we're going to have this debate between now and September 30th again. So that is the only point I was making in my.
All right, I see nothing else for discussion.
One other question. We're approving both the increases in the permitting fees and the recreational fees?
They're both included in the fee schedule, and so it's in the fee resolution schedule.
It is, and so back to the question on those are going up 34% on an average?
On the building component of a permit fee.
Right.
And I think we determined at that meeting that for a building permit, it would be about a 20% increase in the overall permit.
Yeah. Now, the problem I have with is mixing these two together, because we have two separate sets of fees that should have separate pros or cons. So I would say it's not appropriate, but we are going down that path, it looks like.
To Councilman
I'll
Schultz's
move.
point,
If
we
I
have-
may, just to
Yeah, this is-
clarify, we had, council moved to adopt the building fee, these building fees in a prior meeting. Council also made a motion to adopt these new Fort Walton-based fee schedule for the recreation fees. So what this is just bringing the resolution that's taking those two motions where council already adopted these fees as they are, and now we're putting them all in our one all-comprehensive fee resolution so that they're in one place.
And I understand that concept. I also understand that if you're in favor of one and opposed to the other, this does not give you an opportunity to vote against one in favor of another.
But council already moved
I
as the
understand that. If they
majority
already voted,
moved
then why are
to,
we voting on it again?
because this is where
I get
they're
it.
brought together into one comprehensive document.
I get it.
He just doesn't want more taxes. All right, with that, I'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved, 5-1.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is 4D. This is through Jamie, our Human Resource Director. This is an update to the employee manual, converting sick leave, vacation leave, and other leave time except comp time to one comprehensive PTO plan that says your time off is now in one bucket. Whether it's sick leave, whether it's annual leave, vacation, whatever it may be, you get to pull out of one pot. This is much easier on staff to maintain and to manage, as opposed to having to have a doctor's excuse if I'm not feeling good today, but how do I figure out how to take that off? The appropriate approving personnel will still have oversight over when folks take their time off, but it's just a matter of it's kind of what's going on in the HR world around us, and public sector organizations are usually the last to get there, but we think this is a prudent move and it'll be more efficient. No one has been losing any time off. Everybody's accruing at the same rate they were accrued. It just now it goes into one pot.
All right, thank you for that. Councilman Bagby.
Mayor, I move to approve the 5.5.2025 revisions to the employee manual with an effective date of May 10th, 2025.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussions, we'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it unanimously, so moved, 6-0. Yep, Councilman Bagby.
I would like to make a motion that we direct staff to bring us back an option of moving our employees to Social Security and the state retirement system as part of the 2026 budgeting cycle.
All right, sounds like we got some support. We got a motion and a second. Any discussions on that? Nope. All right, seeing none, let Ray put the custom motion up there, but we will call the vote. Got it, Ray? All right, there we go. Calling the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 4E is the update on the exterior building condition for the Destin Community Center. The good news is the doors are in pretty good shape, and we can repaint those and recoat them with some good painting, and they'll be good. Bad news is the overall condition of that facility is poor, with multiple areas of water intrusion, material failure, and visible structural degradation. This was the BECI inspection that we had done on the envelope, exterior envelope of the building. Broken down, the roof system, their recommendation is a complete removal and replacement. The storefront windows, they think their recommendation is replace those with thermally broken aluminum frame systems. The EIFS is cracked, delaminated, and missing mesh, and have moisture risk in areas there was no moisture barrier protection at all. They recommend removing that existing EIFS and installing some new drainable system with the appropriate coatants and sealants. And again, the doors can clean and recoat, and they'll be pretty good. So the overall condition of the community center, based on their assessment, is not real great. So we're looking for direction. As you recall, there's $717,000 in the current year budget for renovations. If we're inclined to consider these, I would suggest we do a request for proposals and do it in components from the roof system, the windows, the exterior coating, and then the painting of the doors. But then we can break it down into how much each of those components will cost. And if we have the ability to use some of the $700,000 that's in the current year budget, and perhaps look at budgeting additional funds next year, but we'll have a complete look at what those costs could or should be.
I'll make the staff suggested motion to request proposals to obtain cost estimates for repairs and replacements.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I'm just going to throw it out there because I bug her all the time. My vote would be to replace the whole thing and start over, and I'm just going to put that on the record. All right, call the vote. I know. If we duct tape it for 5 more years, we could have the money saved up. We've been.
That's what we've been doing, duct taping it.
All right. Ayes have it, so moved.
Next item is 4F. For your consideration is a budget calendar for the 2026 budget process. We're probably running a little later than what we'd like to, but with the implementation of the new software and financial, it's been a labor, and Crystal and her shop have been working diligently to get us there, but we believe these dates are attainable and we'll be ready to move forward.
All right, with that, do I hear a move?
Mayor, I move to change the date of the first regular council meeting in September from September 4th to September 2nd, and to approve the recommended calendar.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second for the calendar.
Just question on Budget Workshop 1. It says operations and SRS findings discussion. Is that going to be our public workshop in combination with the budget?
Well, actually, it'll be 2 separate. We'll do the budget workshop and have the
Turn your button on.
So just so I understand, you're going to have our first budget workshop for maybe an hour or two, and we're going to have an SRS public workshop on the vision of
correct, yes, sir.
multi-$40 million, $50 million plan for the same amount of time?
Well, if we can get it done, yes, sir. If we need to do.
Which one would be
different time.
scheduled first?
Crystal, any idea? It wouldn't matter to us.
Gotcha. And y'all are okay with that, having 2 separate workshops on the same night?
The way this rolls, probably not, but.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the SRS workshop was approved for 5:30.
Okay, 5:30.
Yes, and we have already pushed that out to some media.
All right, I got a motion. See no further discussions. Call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved, 6-0. Larry.
Next item, 4G, is regarding the Land Development Code approval process. As you're aware, there are 11 articles in the new Land Development Code. Each of those need to come back for finalization of the language we're looking for, we would recommend that we do them in either 1 or 2 article workshops, get the approval, and we'll move them forward into one final ordinance once we've got all the language that we're looking for in each of those components, as opposed to hearing it all one night and trying to wade our way through a very lengthy process and maybe not get all the things we want in it.
Right. How many chapters are there? Do we know?
11.
11. I don't know, without getting into sunshine, if we can poll, you guys let us know which ones seem to not have hot topics. I'm sure there's a couple chapters that we need to flesh out.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to follow ordinance reading for these, and we can follow the same schedule that we did with the workshops, where we grouped, I think 1 and 2 together, and then we did 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 separately, and then 9, 10, and 11. 6 in the design manual together. So 9, 10, and 11 were all one. Yeah, we could certainly follow that discussion under ordinance form, so that that way you all can make real motions and approve and all that sort of stuff. So
I know it depends on us and how much back and forth we go. In a realistic end of the year, this is wrapped up, or?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here, first of all.
You always are. You always are.
This is a big project, and it's trust me, if I know you all are frustrated that it's taken this long. I am just as, if not more, frustrated that it's taken this long. But ideally, yes, we could potentially get through everything and have this, depending on approval, adopted and ready for implementation the 1st of next year for a clean date. We could go earlier if we finish earlier.
Gotcha. And then, Kim, your recommendation would be to wait for all these to pass so there's no conflicting, we would take them chapter by chapter, but at the end we would come together? Or is that...
I mean, I personally think they need to come part by part so that because I think...
No, for sure. No, I'm saying...
Because I think council wants to have a lot of input and needs to, so I would just take them in personally, and I don't know that Steve and I agree, but I don't know. But I think they should come separately and just have an effective date in the future so that they all become effective at the same time.
Okay, that was probably a better way of what I was trying to get at. Okay.
So I think Kim and I are saying the same thing, just differently. So I'll just say what I think is ideal, okay? And then Kim can retort, and then she and I can go, beat each other up in the back room or something. But just kidding. So ideally, what I think could work best for staff moving forward, especially, is if we do one ordinance and then we open it up for a first reading for a couple of articles to discuss, and then just continue the first reading, or you just say, hey, we're going to continue first reading, or move to second reading or whatever, and we don't have to always have just 1 and 2 meetings for first and second reading. We can have multiple meetings, right? And so you have those discussions and you prove the articles as we move along, and we can do that at individual meetings or multiple meetings if we need for one article. And at the end, adopt one ordinance. So that way there's an effective date of just everything all at once. And then, should there be an amendment, what happens is we amend that ordinance and we readopt everything, including what was amended, so that the original ordinance that we adopt for the new LDC has a beginning and an end date. And then the new ordinance is now everything. And I'll tell you why that helps staff. Right now, if someone comes in and say, hey, I want to know what the code was for my development when I came in, we have to go back to the building code or the building file to see when it was approved. And then what we have to do is we have to look at what supplements were active up to that date, and then figure out which codes within the code was active. If everything's all just one ordinance, there's a beginning and an end date, or if it's the active ordinance, whatever happened in between all of that, that's the one code that was available, and we can say, okay, this was the code from January 1 to January 1, right? And then that was the end date of first ordinance, and then January 1, 2027 is the beginning of the next ordinance, and then so on and so forth, right? Or whenever the amendment is. But as far as approving the new LDC, we absolutely don't have to bring it all at once. We can bring them individually at multiple readings, so.
All right, Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a modified option 1, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw out there, I move the city council direct to draft the LDC to be brought back for approval using option 1 with one ordinance for the entire land development code approval, which was the recommended motion.
Yeah.
Well, I just read that straight from the staff
yeah,
report,
what-
and Steve just
yeah,
spoke a
what-
lot of words, so I'm not sure why
Yeah.
we say no.
What I just described was, okay.
All right, I have all right, I have the recommended motion on the floor. Do I hear a second for the recommended motion?
I'll second it.
All right, Councilman Schmidt, you good?
Motion that I read?
No. Are you anything further to discuss?
Oh, no.
All right, Councilwoman Trammell? But
motion he was going for because I didn't know what to second. But I don't agree with coming all at one time. We can have a date certain for each one of these, and I think we need to look at each one of these because we just do. There's some of those things in there I'm not real sure we like. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I cannot support the current motion.
all right, Councilman Destin?
I think I agree with Councilwoman Trammell. There's nothing or very few things that are more important than the land development code. To lump it all together makes me very concerned and not take the time to go through the elements. And I would defer to our city attorney, who is going to be the one who would be defending this and is the one who would say whether we went through the procedure. I got very confused by our staff members' explanation of first reading, second reading, and I've never seen us proceed like that before. So, you know, is Ms. Kopp, what you were recommending, is that one of those options? Which one is it?
I mean, I was recommending option 2 only because if we had separate ordinances, the council could look at each one at a time. But the way Steve was saying it, I mean, we could do one ordinance if that is what council wants to do. I'm good either way. My recommendation was option 2, but I do think Steve was talking about option 1.
Yeah, well, I was getting a little confused by that, and I'll make a substitute motion that we go with option 2, since that is your recommendation is more traditional, and we will get to examine the
I'll
elements
second
at a
that.
little closer.
All right, I have a motion and a second for an alternate. Anything else? Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Look, we're going to look at it chapter by chapter or in groups of 2 or 3 chapters. We're going to say the date certain is January 1st, 2026. We will go through each of those so that it will come back to us prior to January 1st, 2026 as one ordinance for a reading, but we will go through and approve or disapprove each of those chapters or groups of chapters separately. And whether we call that option 1 or 2, it doesn't really matter. I understand why yeah, it's one ordinance, but we only review a couple of chapters and then we can amend it, we can re-review that chapter. We're going to break it down. So it doesn't really matter if we call it option 1 or option 2. I think we all know how we're going to do this, and how we actually pass it or what option we call it really doesn't matter. I'm good.
All right, with that, I will call the vote on the substitute motion for option 1. 2, my bad, 2. Yeah, evidently it doesn't matter. It does matter, and 5 agree. All right, 5-1, so moved. Larry, anything else?
Just an announcement, a couple of meetings ago, it was requested that each of you bring back 2 or 3 of priorities for the strategic plan summary and update at the second meeting in May, and just reminding you to, if you wish to participate, we'll ask you to do that for the next meeting. And with that, I'll yield to Dr. Young.
Good evening. Starting May 13th, we'll be introducing My Government Online, also known as MGO. It's going to replace Compass, and hopefully will be a really easy-to-use online system for all of our permitting and our licensing, business tax receipts, short-term rentals, code compliance, and a number of other things. We'll go live on May 13th, as I said, and at that time, Compass will stop accepting new applications, but will remain accessible to complete existing requests. And we've been reaching out to our constituents in a number of ways. We've sent out over 10,000 emails. We have information on our website, pushed it on some social media and other ways. So hopefully we're reaching everybody and it'll be a nice, seamless transition. City offices will be closed on Friday, May 16th for half of a day, so starting at noon for an Employee Appreciation Day. We'll still be available should any emergencies arise, and we'll be posting contact information on our website about that. Memorial Day is May 26th. The American Legion will host a celebration that day at 11 a.m. at the Destin Memorial Cemetery. A Legionnaire and an auxiliary member will lay a wreath of remembrance and have a few short speeches. And after the event, the public is invited to their post for refreshments. And city offices will be closed that day, May 26th. June 9th at 5:30 p.m., as you all have been discussing, will be a workshop regarding SRS and visioning, and the public is encouraged to come out and share their thoughts and ideas. We did have a really good turnout for that survey that we put out last year about this, and so we're hoping those people that took the time to respond to the surveys participate in this discussion as well. And finally, sea turtle nesting season kicked off May 1st. It goes through October 31st. We do have the red flashlights, the special flashlights that are safe for nesting turtles, available at City Hall. And this year, when folks, whether it's locals or tourists, come to pick those up, we're just asking for a little bit more information about who they are, what city and state they're coming from, so that we can track this a little bit better. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Public hearings, Ms. Kopp.
Ordinance 2025-08 LC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, relating to the imposition of mobility fees, providing for adoption of a mobility fee study and table of mobility fees, providing for mobility fee discounts, providing for city enforcement, providing for authority, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the Land Development Code, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Seeing this is a first reading of a public hearing, at this time, if anyone wishes to speak on this topic, this is your time to do so. Seeing none, I will close the public comments of this public hearing and entertain a motion.
You gonna make it?
I'll move that the city council adopt ordinance 2508 LC on first reading as presented, with the discounts applied to long-term single-family uses and the full rate per the mobility fee study to all other uses.
All right.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussions on the mobility fees? No, come on, it's not a tax. Councilman Destin.
We're approving which option? There were 3 options, right?
No, there was an alternative motion.
I'm sorry. What are we trying?
We're approving, Kim, go ahead. Yeah, I don't want to.
Deciding whether to approve the ordinance on first reading, and Kevin's motion would have it with the increased fees other than the discounts for the long-term for the long-term residential.
No increases except for what now?
No, those would be the discounts. All of the increases, but the discounts on the long-term residential.
Okay, and that, of the options we were seeing, that is one, or is that a 4th option?
It's not one of the options that was listed in the paper. Based on the discussion at all the mobility fee workshops, there was discussion as to whether we are going to pick winners and losers.
Right.
And so what staff brought forward was there was a clear intent to want to reduce the impact fee on long-term single-family duplex uses, so we just applied the 50%. And then everything else is at 100% per the mobility study.
Okay, and off on another question, Yep, I noticed in the summary that it talked about some of this money was going to be used to pay for multimodal infrastructure. If we were dissolving and doing away with multimodal, what infrastructure would we be funding?
So we're getting away from the multimodal transportation district.
Okay.
But multimodal infrastructure just refers to multiple modes of transportation. So not just vehicular, but also bicycle and pedestrian. So
Okay.
that type of infrastructure.
Now, they were an integral part of multimodal. You got discounts for those, and they were interwoven into the entire thing. Are they still going to be part of as we go forward?
I'm not quite sure I follow that question. Can you repeat it? Sorry.
Yeah, multimodal in the transportation district was used to get discounts and was used to have maximum parking rather than minimum parking, a number of things. Are those still part of the system as we go forward?
So in the new LDC, we are getting rid of the maximum amount of parking. So that anything to do with the multimodal transportation district, with the exception of the design standards, which are being moved to the Destin Design Manual, are pretty much going away. So the regulations for street design, for facade and all that stuff is staying, but as far as requiring the bicycle park, like the higher rate of bicycle parking, all that sort of stuff, and the maximum on the parking, that stuff's going away.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
It does, more or less, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yep, Councilman Bagby.
So what are the fees on long-term residential at 100%? Because I could find 50 and I could find the 93, 92, 91 chart, but I didn't see a chart that had 100% discount. So that would basically mean they're staying exactly the same?
No, so 100% on all uses would be fee option number 1 in attachment 4.
Okay, I'm on. Which option? Option 1?
Option 1 has maximum fees for all uses.
So, but we're doing 100% discount on long-term residential?
No, we're doing a 50% discount.
Which is option 2.
Which is
which-
option 2,
yes,
okay.
yes.
I thought
That's
you
what's
said
being proposed.
100%. Okay. My bad.
All right, that's it. All right, Councilman Destin.
One more question.
Yes,
So
sir.
does that represent an increase for single-family,
Yes, it does.
and by what percentage?
Percentage,
Or if you just want to give me a couple of comparisons. I see it starts at 500 square feet and goes
So,
up as you go toward a larger house.
so I have a breakdown for an average home right now at 2,000 to 3,000 square, or 2,000 to 299,000 square feet. Current fee is 1,425. Okay, 100%, or the proposed fee is, let me make sure this is correct. So the maximum fee would be 18,000. 50% discount would be 9. I'm just trying to get to the actual number. I'm on the wrong stuff.
Yeah,
report, that's why.
9,389.
Yeah, so it would be an increase of about 600%-ish.
Yes, I think
So-
you're correct. I kind of skirted through that. And while we say this is only on new builds, that's true, but we all have children, grandchildren would like to live in Destin, I suppose. And that kind of increase is totally unreasonable in my opinion, so won't be able to vote for that.
Well, when's the last time we had the fee increase? Because, I mean, 600 does sound like a lot, but that's because it's been 0 year after year for decades at this point. So, yes, it's
Is that true? When was the last time we ever?
04.
I believe it was we had something done in 2008, reduced them or increased them minimally, or there was some sort of adjustment in about 2008.
Yeah, we went backwards, which I get it. There was definitely a different time and different economic situation, but.
Well, we were in the middle of a recession.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, absolutely. It makes sense. But this fee, we are allowed to always reduce. We just can't add per the.
Correct. You can add discounts all day long at whatever rate you all identify, as long as it's tied to, your comprehensive plan, your strategic plan, all that sort of stuff, which I think the options provide for, right?
It almost reminds me like a millage rate. We can only go up so much, but we can always go down as
Correct.
much as we feel like it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And especially in a free state of Florida where from time to time we have larger developments that have the right to do so, I think this is one of our only tools to allow the quality of life to get something for the rights of development to happen. So whether it's a single family, I think we've addressed it with the discount, but even a single family, I have a new family that came in and there's 3 kids and they ride their bike every day to school. So that money would go towards improving bicycle infrastructure per se with this mobility plan.
Correct.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, the bottom tier, the 500 square feet, what was the price on that in the old plan?
The 500?
Yeah, or did that even apply in the old plan?
It did. Let me pull that up real quick. So for 500 square feet, it was $583.
And it would be what, under the new fee?
On the new one, sorry, I got too many tabs open. My apologies. On the new one, it's $5,023.
So that's actually more than the bigger house, slightly? 10 times versus 9?
Than the current fee?
All right.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, well, I understand the need for new infrastructures and new roads, but to go 10 times the fee on folks that want to live in Destin and build a house, it's very hard for me to justify that, but folks that vote get to justify it in their own mind.
All right. And let me make sure the board's clear. Councilman Bagby?
Yeah, no, I understand Mr. Destin's point, and it's very valid. And if we do go into a slow construction, slow sales, this probably won't help it at all. The thing is it does not apply to existing construction, so it's new, and we don't have that many undeveloped. We'll do some redevelopment, and I get that. So it mainly applies. I mean, if you build a Granny's quarters or whatever we've talked about, that would apply a new thing. I just think in the total, it's probably the best moving forward. I have one question for the attorney, just so I make sure, because, we're going to adopt this or we're not going to adopt this. If we do adopt this and grandma comes up and goes, I've been wanting to build a little playhouse for my kids, grandkids, great-grandkids for, 20 years, saved up the money, and can you waive these fees? Can we waive them on individual projects, i.e. spot zoning in my mind, or would we have to lower it for all pieces in that category?
Well, that was a leading question, but I agree with you. You got to treat everybody the same.
But I mean, because
I can see 800 people, every person that has a permit coming up here, just like they do for the waiver of the liens, Well, help me out here.
To that real point, Don Gates's bill for the ADUs by right has made it through the House and Senate. So if the governor signs, our land development code of ADUs goes out the door, and we don't even have to worry about it in our chapter. It's going to be by Florida right. And I agree with it from the standpoint of workforce housing or additional income for our local residents. So this would be our only way, I guess, that 1,000 or less really square feet, give or take. I don't see anything going higher than that, but any additional dwelling units would still fall under this impact fee or mobility fee?
Any expansion
additional
of
dwelling.
long-term residential use.
Okay.
So if you added 500 square feet to your home, right?
Oh, we lost the house. It's over 7:30. Sorry, guys.
If you added, you know, whatever square footage to your home based on this chart, that's the rate that you would be,
Okay,
you'd be
that makes
charged.
sense. All right. Councilwoman Neighbor?
So this would go into, like, the property on Main Street that's adding 5 bedrooms. They would be paying more money if this was already in effect, correct?
Correct.
Good point. All right, seeing no further discussions, we will call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved, 5-1. All right, that is the public hearings, public comments. Council Member Trammell.
Nothing tonight. Thank you, Lisa, for Founder's Day. I'm sorry I didn't make it, but I heard it was great. Thank you.
Awesome. Councilman Destin.
Back on our beach vending enforcement, I know that we have a code officer that has been dedicated and appears to be doing a pretty good job. How many warnings have we written, or how many fines have we assessed? Do we know?
I'm sorry, on the beach or on?
Enforcing the ban on beach vending.
I don't know. I know we've had a couple more in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've issued at least 3, I believe, actual citations. I actually spoke to Riley about this, and he told me that essentially everybody but one general operator has left, and so the warning, the initial warnings seem to have worked, and there have been a few repeat offenders that have actually been able to be caught. But for the most part, he's recognized that really just one operator is the repeat offender right now.
And that is probably the point we're going to have to address.
Yes.
It appears that we're not effectively deterring some of them. And so at the next motion, I will put under my name a motion to shift some money over to legal to allow the city attorney to go forward and try to get a court injunction against those who are repeat offenders, be it 1, be it 2. If we start with 1, I think the rest of them will get the message. So they're still out there every day. And it appears we have no other option unless, and I would ask her to come forward with any other options, but it's, I'm told they're out there every day.
So is that a motion, or are you putting that under your name?
I'll put it on the name.
Okay, gotcha.
Give
All
her
right.
time to
Yep.
Tell us what we need to
create a
do.
way to put a little more
Yeah.
ability to enforce.
Makes sense.
Riley has observed them, and he the other day he observed and watched 2 pretty much for a few hours, and they stayed in the water outside of our ability to really enforce. So yeah, they are there, and we recognize that.
And there are reports that they were on dry land in the
Button.
Yeah.
with someone who doesn't have property we can lien, as we discussed in the prior issues, and wants to pay the 500, so what?
Yep.
Great. Councilman Bagby.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to update everybody, and we'll have a motion. Met with the clerk's office, and we thought they could help us out, and then they decided that they couldn't help us out. And so it's time for Plan C. And Plan C is to seek an Attorney General's opinion, basically asking, because what the statute says is that they can provide the information for official purposes. Well, we're only seeking the name of the property owner and their mailing address. The clerk's office shares this information, or at least with their database, with the property appraiser, to make sure that those properties that are doing short-term rentals aren't homesteaded. They share it with other people. We're not asking for any business information, any money involved or anything like that, just the name of the property owner and the mailing address so that we can mail them their notices that they owe us money for the fees in the city of Destin. So to do that, our next step would be to ask the Attorney General if that in fact complies with the regulation or the statute that the clerk cited where they couldn't share information. So I'd make a motion that we authorize the city attorney to draft a request for an attorney general's opinion seeking whether or not we can get that information from the clerk of the courts.
Second.
All right, got a motion and second for official business. Seeing no further discussion, call the vote. All right, 6-0, so moved.
That's all I have tonight, Mayor.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Aber.
Thank you, Mayor. Just give everybody a little heads up that I went over to the SS United States today for a tour of it with our Dr. Young. She was part of the crew of folks that were taking videos of my mother as a story of somebody that traveled on it back in 1962. I was only 3 months old, so I don't remember it, and my two brothers. And she traveled with the three of us from New York back to London, where my dad was on orders, and they weren't allowing members to take their family with them, so her mom paid for her to ride that ship all the way over. So when I told Jennifer about it and Alex Fogg, they're running the whole cleanup of that before it gets sunk in November. That's their projected time frame. They wanted to do a little interview with her, so NPR came in from Alabama and covered it, and Tamara covered quite a bit of the video of while my mom spoke about the whole trip, and it was funny to hear her talking about it. And then we got to go on the ship and tour it. Now, she's 90, so she couldn't make the trip around it, but it was extremely fascinating. And Tamara, can you add a little bit more to it to clarify exactly how cool it was? Because you were just doing all the filming.
Well, sure. I'm just the size of the ship. It's just mammoth when you're there. It's incredible. And also to see the changes from the photos and videos that the TDC has been pushing out from what the ship looked like to where she is now. So they've made immense progress on cleaning her up and cleaning her out. But just to see the divisions in the areas of it's pretty fascinating. And your mother's story is incredible. And she remembered so many details from years ago. So, to be in her 90s and have that recall was just tremendous. So we're excited to push that little local element of Destin out there to everybody.
And she asked if they were going to deploy it during her lifetime. And, I said, her mother lived till she was 92, and Alex said, we're trying to shoot for the end of 2025, so we would love to have you come back over when we deploy it in 20 miles off of Destin whenever it's finished. So pretty exciting, and if you haven't had a chance to at least even drive by it, it's just huge, and it's fascinating. Some of the story behind it, I didn't realize why the stacks were tilted. Most stacks are straight up. They said because they wanted it when it was going across the ocean to look like it was going faster than what it was with the stacks being tilted back. It gave it that illusion. So lots of fun facts about the ship itself. So it was cool to see it. But that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
That's very cool. Councilman Guile.
I've got nothing.
Councilman Schmidt.
Yes, sir. I do have a few questions and comments and updates. Did the parking lot RFP for the city parking lot go out? Or RFB?
Yeah, I was on vacation last week, so no, it hasn't, but I'll...
When will it be going out? Can you tell us specifically?
By the next council meeting.
By the next council meeting, okay. Did the foreclosure, cyber property stuff, did that get?
Yeah, I filed, we've got a clerk's default against Mr. Marlar, which means we're ready to get a judgment against him. We also have a default entered against the clerk of courts, which is a representative of the state, another defendant. These are because of various other interests in the property. We have to get them all. There's only, then I have a consent from another defendant to judgment. So all I need is one remaining defendant who is an out-of-state individual that did file a response asking to be left out of the lawsuit, but she can't be because she has a child support lien. So at the end of the day, we've got one more defendant to take care of, but it's in the judge's hands waiting on that one.
Thank you. Larry, the The pickleball situation, the TDC, I believe we're waiting for the TDC meeting, which is currently scheduled for May 28th. Could I ask you to contact, who's the county guy over there?
Coffee.
Craig Coffey, to see if they would be willing to put it on the May 20th BOCC meeting in the case of the TDC not meeting on May 28th? Because I know we've already delayed it 1 month because they canceled the TDC meeting. And for some reason, if they cancel it again, I just would hate for something. And I know it can go to the BOCC first before it comes to TDC, so appreciate it. Would the utility boxes, we talked about that over different meetings. Could y'all bring us back 2 to 3 of the next ideas and the cost of what that will be to do the next reiteration of them? The wraps? Cool. Just so the council can maybe make a decision if they want to do the next ones. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question about that. With all the fiber that's being undergrounded and all these boxes that are going up, why couldn't we make it a requirement that they wrap it in a certain thing?
I think all their stuff is underground.
Their stuff's underground. I think this is more Gulf Power and some others, but.
Well, there's new ones going up all over the place.
Yeah.
But I think we need, in the future, come up with 5 or 6 designs and say, do it.
Sounds like
And
a design
that's
manual.
that's part of the permit for getting it done.
Sure.
I like it.
We talked about raising money in unique different ways, right? And I know we haven't kicked around many ideas, but there was a gentleman here within the past year talking about beach bonfires. And I'm sure that there's a lot of history in the city of Destin and why y'all haven't done it before. What I would like to do, though, is have Mr. Larry and the staff look at Walton County and bring us back the numbers and what that would look like in the city of Destin as a revenue-generating idea to the city. The numbers that the gentleman threw out one time were pretty substantial, if I recall. And so I'd like to make a motion to have city manager work with staff to bring us back a proposal, idea of what that looks like of doing beach bonfires in the city of Destin.
I'll second that.
Awesome. All right, I got a motion and a second for that consideration. Any discussions? Yep.
When y'all bring that back, bring back the amount of public beach where we could actually permit this. One of the problems that we have is most of the beach in Destin is private, and the largest beach is owned by the state, which we don't control, and the second largest public beach is controlled by the county, which we don't control. So the places that we could put it are, even with our recent purchases, are fairly limited where it would accrue to us. So I want to know how many linear feet of beach we actually control, because I think what we'll find is, unless we work out something with the county, with James Lee Park, we probably won't see a whole lot of revenue.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. Let's bring out any and all research that we could provide, because all the facts would be great to have.
Yeah. And I think I would like to think that the county would want to work with us. I think the Walton area has got a tremendous length of beach, but the numbers that I was just napkin mathing, I mean, it would definitely be substantial. And, I got a nice little Doge letter from the county, so perhaps this is a way to help them offset their cost with us.
Yeah.
So, Councilman Destin?
Just out of curiosity, do we prohibit fires on private beaches?
That's where I was just going, because we require permits on private property all the time for things. So yeah, right now we prohibit fires on private and public beaches. We actually have had at least one private property owner, which was the owners of Parcel B, asking us to allow fires because they've been code enforced for them. So that's one example. But if we had the permitting process, it would be applicable to public and private.
Okay, and at the moment, we have 300 feet at one beach and whatever we have at the one you just spoke of. So we do have some, just not nearly a lot.
Cool. All right, I got a motion and a second. I will call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. Anything else, sir?
No, sir, that's it.
All
Thank you very
right.
much.
So I'm going to tie it into Councilman Schmidt's request for what we got asked as a reminder as far as the priority list for, I guess, next year's fiscal year. Something that I've been, for some reason, really wrapped up in, because it's not even our beaches, but hopefully we can get something out of this in the end, which is the Walton County beach bill, and Senator Jay Trumbull did a great job. I guess he cashed in all his chips for the next 7 years, because I don't know how he got that through. But it did, and the amendment really allows for renourishment of deemed critically eroded beach. Holiday Isle, not our center, but Crystal Beach are both also deemed critically eroded by 2024 FDEP's report. So I say all that as a background to say Walton County and DEP really seem they're going to be going after a beach renourishment sooner than later. And I would just like for us to, if possible, look at jumping on that wagon as a little side cart. And if they're going to do a huge Walton County renourishment, what is it to do a couple more miles to their east? And so that's just kind of a bit of information for everyone just to chew on as far as if we're interested in a beach renourishment. It would set the ECL line, and basically we're really looking at a lot of public beach coming online, because every inch past that ECL line would then become public beach. The private beach would stay private, and everything we would create in southward of that line would become public, and hopefully then even have more public beach for everyone. So that's going to be my thing as a spoiler alert of something I would potentially like to throw out there, not really knowing the cost feasibility of it all, but it'll be definitely something in the works. And of course that would go through our TDC because they have renourishment dollars. So, all that good stuff. So that aside, again, we're kicking up for summer now. So we're back at Joe's Bayou with the wake and a lot of just jet ski and a lot of action in Joe's Bayou, which is permittable right now, I believe, because there's no wake sign out there. Sorry, I don't know how to not double negative that.
Missing.
It's missing. So right now, Captain, do you know the zoning? I know that's more of outside your league, but do we know what no wake is as far as that Joe's Bayou zoning?
There's a no-wake zone at the mouth of Joe's Bayou.
Okay.
But once you get back to just about where the park is, it ends right in that area.
And they're able to go wake again?
And there is no wake zone after that.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah. Someone please tell me the better grammar. No preventing of wake. So with that, if you guys is something that sounds right to you guys, I would love to see that changed. We have jurisdiction, as the captain told us earlier at the very beginning with our briefing, and I think it just makes a lot of sense for both residential and the commercial, I guess not commercial, but the activity of Joe's Bayou ramp there. So if there's any reasons not to, I'd love to hear them, but I really think that area should just be no wake and call it a day and be done with it. So pros, cons.
So, we talked about, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but there was a meeting where there was complaints about wave runner action. And at that meeting, we talked about a sign that was missing and that there was action going to be taken from either staff or the sheriff's department to go pursue and put that back. So maybe Ray or Larry or somebody can look back that up. But I think we did what you're wanting to do and to make it safer, and it just hasn't happened yet.
Gotcha.
Possibly.
So
I agree with you. It needs to be a little bit slowed down over there.
Councilman Bagby, this is Joe's Bayou.
No, this is ECL Beach Nursery.
Oh, back. Okay, gotcha. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't looking at my screen. Let me wrap up Joe's and we'll go back to ECL. Yeah. Anything else on the Joe's? Any further direction? Do you need any direction, sir? We can regroup on that. All right. Back to the ECL line, beach renourishment. Councilman Destin.
Mayor, I was just wondering, are you asking us to endorse going forward with Walton County?
I would love that. I guess I didn't have enough information. I was just throwing that out there as it's coming in now. It's waiting for the governor's signature. We don't see any reason why they wouldn't, but this is my first time going through a nourishment, so I'm all ears on what you suggest.
And we've been there and done that before, and it is always quite controversial. We had a number of property owners who refused to participate because they would not accept public beach in front of their private beach, and I anticipate that will happen again?
No, because the amendment to this bill forgoes their need for that construction agreement, the construction easement, if the beach is deemed critically eroded, which all of ours is basically except Henderson Beach and the resort area, that middle area from basically back porch to Henderson doesn't meet the list, but everything else, east and west, does.
I understand what the bill says, whether it's lawful or not, it'll be a question.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
That may well be litigated if they go the same route they did before, because they're advocating that you can't simply take their beachfront property and turn it into beach view property. Pretty strong argument to make in front of the Supreme Court.
I'm pretty
So
sure
we're gonna get into
yeah.
God knows what, but as far as re-nourishing the beaches, I'll support that.
Yeah.
And I will make a motion that we authorize the mayor to advocate that position, that we're in favor of joining together.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right, I appreciate that. Motion a second. Councilman Bagby, anything to discuss on that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in Crystal Beach, we have an erosion control line. So I would ask our TDC rep, is either Kevin or?
Yes,
okay. If you could get Jennifer to provide us with a copy of the most recent survey of the beach, because that will be one of the first things. I know Walton County just completed theirs in '24, and I've seen their pictures, and because they have an ECL for the 5 most western miles, and we have a ECL for the 2 most eastern miles of our beaches. And then how much money is in the reserves for a beach nourishment, because they have a penny that they are collecting just for beach nourishment. I think it's their 3rd penny or 4th penny. I can't remember how their pennies are set up. But on the easements, interesting enough, I had a conversation with Matt, and I reached out to Brad Pickle. That applies to a state nourishment project, which is the most expensive for us, because basically we and the county split with the state. In a federal nourishment project, the feds usually pick up about half, and I think the local is about 16%, and the state picks up the other 24% or 34%, whatever that is. But it does not apply necessarily. The easement, waiving of the easement requirement does not apply in a federal nourishment, because they go by their rules, is what I'm told, which means that would take us out of our most, because in a federal project, they come back every 10 years, they measure your beach, and if it's not deep enough, they automatically do a nourishment project, and they just keep feeding your beach, and that's what Panama City has, and they've had, I think, 5 nourishment projects since I've lived here. So, but I would like to know what the county's doing to lean forward on a nourishment project, because, and specifically the TDC, because that's where the lion's share of the money comes from. And yes, I'm all for a project, but they need that. The first step will be a survey, because as it's stated in the, or it states in the state statute, that will become, that mean high water line will become the ECL line. And so we need to know where the ECL or the current mean high water line is, but they will survey it again before they do the project, because it will take about 5 to 7 years before we can get a nourishment project. And that's the thing we need to make sure our citizens know. And Tamara, you can be prepared, because I guarantee you the day the governor signs that, everybody will think the beaches are completely public, and that is a lie. They are still privately owned, either to the ECL or the mean high water line in the western 2/3 of Destin, and those property owners will expect us to enforce their property rights.
Yep. All right, and with that, those are my 2 things. What we got? Oh, yeah. ECL endorsement. All right, so the beach nourishment endorsement. So I'll call the vote. All right, ayes have it, so moved. Thank you. And Ms. Kopp.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Happy belated birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Cinco de Mayo, Kim's bio.
No, she's a Star Wars. Third. Oh, dang. Double whammy. Okay. All right, with that, public comments. Just for the fun? Just here for the fun. All right. All right, I'll close the public comments and adjourn this meeting.